Welcome to Capitalizing Your Life, the podcast that shows you how to take control of your money, build lasting wealth, and create financial freedom using the infinite banking concept. If you're ready to make your cash flow work for you instead of someone else, you're in the right place. Here's your host, Glenn Yaney.
Today, my guest is Jason Sipple, host of Wealth Wise Banking Podcast. Welcome, Jason.
Thank you, Glenn. It's an honor and excited to be here, man. It's nice to officially meet you, and it's nice to be in front of your audience. So I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, I've listened to a handful of your podcasts, and I can just tell when you listen, there's certain things that can't be faked. And I can just tell that you're a very genuine person and I really want the best for everyone you come in contact with, which I'm excited to really have a conversation with you.
Oh, wow. That's a kind way to start off. You're going to make me blush right in the beginning, man. No, yeah, I mean, like you said before we came live on air, you're like, hey, man, I don't like do scripts and stuff because it just doesn't work for me. And I'm the same way. It's like, listen, I have my stories. I can share where I came from, what I'm doing, and I can just guide you, right? That's how I look at it. Because the reality is everyone is starting in their journey of infinite banking or not starting at all at a different place.
Definitely. And my favorite part about the actual infinite banking concept and teaching people about it is really, we're just creating abundance and we're creating empowerment and really like the best for whenever I'm talking to somebody, it's always like, how can we create the best life for you? Like that's what we're aiming for. And that's why infinite banking concept aligns with that.
No, that's a beautiful statement. I look at it as, again, we got to keep everything simple.
Yep.
But the two things I hear the most, like I've had over 4,000 conversations with folks, right? The two things I hear the most are on opposite sides of the coin. The number one thing I hear is, Jason, this is too good to be true, right? That's the number one thing. Like my spouse doesn't believe this. My brother doesn't believe this. It just seems too good to be true. And then once the light bulb goes on, the second thing they say to me is, Jason, I wish I knew about this 20 years ago, 30 years ago. So they're very, very similar, but very different things. One is like, why doesn't anybody tell us about this? Another one's like, man, why didn't they tell me about this a long time ago? So.
Definitely. So let's hear about your story on how you discovered it and how you got into it.
Oh, man, we're going there already. Okay. So,
yeah.
No, thanks for the question. So I'll make it more concise and any follow-up, I'm an open book, so just ask me. So how I discovered it is I thought you could do what the common path was. I thought you could show up first, leave last, work hard, be humble, and just enjoy your life. Everything would work out financially. And the truth was, like I told you prior, around the water cooler, I didn't want to talk about money. I had a lot of bad money rules, habits, things that I just, for whatever reason, I had a very scarce mindset around money. And when I left corporate America, I thought exactly what you just said. I'm like, hey, my role is to be a guide, be a mentor, and help people find their best self. So I kind of was in peak performance coaching in that space. And I had joined a group to grow my coaching business. And it was amazing. And within a few months, I was in their leadership. And I'm going to tighten this up, but I was in their leadership community. And then we're doing one of the events where you're doing your future self. Like, how much money do you want to have? Where do you want to be when you reach your dreams? Where do you, what are you doing? Who's around you? And I was standing there, Glenn, and I just started crying. I was like, oh my God, like, this is not my dream. Like, my wife's not here. My boys aren't here. We're struggling financially. I was like, there's got to be a better way. And so when I got home, I asked one of my friends who is a fiduciary with 40 wealth management offices based out of here in Orlando. And he had met Nelson and he had learned from our Nelson. And he started banking in 2007. And so I asked him for help. I'm like, bro, I need a financial philosophy. And he handed me Nelson's book and I always hold it up, right? The 5th edition one, this black one. And he said, read that. I read it on a Tuesday and I got really pissed. I thought, hey, this can't be true. So I read it again instead of calling him in the middle of the night. And I read it again the next day and I called him up. I cussed him out. I was like, Rep, man, what the heck? Why didn't you tell me about this sooner? And he goes, Sip, you weren't ready. And that's how I learned about it. And I've been in deep ever since. So this is a lifestyle now, right? It's became my passion.
So what would you say was for me, there was some friction. What was the thing that was holding you back that you saw that the infinite banking concept would fix in your life?
It was the simple understanding of laws, right? Laws of wealth. Like when Nelson went through his human behavioral things, like Parkinson's law, like that's the second law of wealth. You have to spend less than you make, right? And he talked about having a place to pay yourself first, to capitalize a system. And that was another thing is like, where are you storing the money that you're saving? Like you're putting yourself, the way I look at it is you're putting yourself first in line where most people are last in line for their money.
Mm.
Like that was the pivot for me is understanding that I can control things. I could have guarantees. And it was no longer this game of how do you feel about taking on more risk? I never felt good about that. How do you feel about working another 20 years? I don't want to do that either. Right. So control and guarantees is what really, really kind of spoke to me in the book.
Where would you say your money was flowing previously to that? Like, was it to the 401k or like what was the thing that you feel that you had to change?
It was where I was storing it because I was putting the max contribution into my qualified plan every year.
Mm.
Right. And every year that I was making more money by doing my job better. I was maxing that out. We were putting money into an HSA. We were putting money into college funds. We had all these separate buckets for these separate jobs. But I really felt like I don't know if this is going to work out because there was something that it didn't make sense to me. None of the other stuff that was a common financial advice made sense. And that's why I avoided it because people would be like, yeah, take the little bit of leftover money and invest it into something and see it grow more, put it into, learn how to trade and learn how to do this. And it was always like, well, I'm not really passionate about that. I really don't want to take on more risk. Right. So,
Yeah. And I think for me, I have the same exact story. I thought I was being responsible, but the feeling was making me feel less empowered. The one story I always talk about is the $400,000 mobile home park that's worth $1.2 million today.
hmm,
And at the time, I had to come up with $100,000 to buy it. And this is when I was just 100% into 401ks. And I was talking to my friends that owned a lot of real estate and how they would buy it or what they need to do. And they all told me it was a good deal. But it was like I just didn't have any access to capital. And then I felt like something just wasn't right. It didn't come to the conclusion that I needed more liquidity at that time. I mean, I knew then, but it's like all these experiences happen and they're like stacking on top of each other. And you slowly come to the conclusion that even if I had 500 to $1 million in my 401k, I would still be trapped by the system, is what I felt.
yeah, you would be, right? Because you can only take a loan up to half of what's in there, up to $50,000 typically. So you'd be half short of the liquidity, even if you had that money socked away, and you'd have all the restrictions on if you did try to access it early, penalties and things of that nature, right? So you had none of the control. And that's what never felt right either. I'm like, and my 4 questions I ask people to your point, and I love that story that you just shared because it's such a powerful example. But here's 4 questions for you. And if you can't answer them, then maybe you have to ask yourself a different question. Do you know when you're going to die? Right? Start right out of the gate. We don't know how long we're going to live.
No,
We don't get a card in the mail saying, hey, your expiration date's this date, right? And then we don't know, do you know what taxes are going to be when that time comes? No, we don't know what taxes will be. Well, then do you know what inflation is going to look like? Nope. Have no idea. Right. And then do you know what the market's going to look like? Will it be up or down? And those 4 questions were probably why I was so uncomfortable because I didn't feel like I had any control.
definitely. And it's like, to me, you know how there's like seasons in life that it's like there's certain things that are happening. And I think that that is the most overlooked portion of infinite banking, in my opinion, is everybody's worried about what we've been taught to learn about, which is rate of return and all these things. It's like, but if you have access to capital, like if my money was making $0 cash
hmm
and I had $100,000 for that mobile home park that I wanted to buy, almost would have been guaranteed to be financially independent if I had the $100,000 available. But because I didn't, I was trying to find other people with capital to go buy it. And it was really, what is the return on something that makes you financially, from going to zero to a financially independent? And if it made 0% and it made you financially independent when the opportunity came up, like what is the return on that, you know?
Yes. Yeah. It's one, it's priceless, right? The
Exactly.
value is priceless. And 2, we just talked about this in one of our latest episodes, but there's emergencies and urgencies in life. Right. And I always ask Jeremy the question, I'll ask you the question. And, if you don't know, I'll give you the answer, of course. But this is for the listeners too. What's the one guarantee in life?
Death and taxes or two.
Yeah, see, that's most people say death and taxes, right? I'm going to tell you it's change.
Yeah.
Change is guaranteed for the better or for the worse. Change is guaranteed. Things will always change. Like we've seen it in our lifetime, you've seen it in your lifetime, any of the listeners, you've seen massive, massive
Yep.
progress with technology, with everything in life, right? Like with the ability for us to do a podcast, not even being in the same studio, right? Like change.
Change. Yep.
So when you have an emergency, like you said, your emergency was a good one. I need $100,000 liquid. Okay.
Yep.
That gives you the urgency behind it. Where do I get it? Well, when you don't have control, when you don't have the ability to access it in a quick manner, then you miss that opportunity,
Yep.
right? The emergency that became urgent becomes something that you missed. And now you have missed out on that big opportunity that's gave you the financial freedom because you don't have control over it, right? So, and those things are going to come up. They could be bad. They could be an air condition going down. Could be the emergency. They could be your transmission in your truck going. There could be, with the cold spell we just had. I've seen a bunch of burst water pipes. So if you were someone that owned the mobile home units, and now you have pipes that have burst, and now you have huge amounts of repairs that's going to cost a bunch of money. Where are you going to get the liquidity to do it? You have to control that system, right? So.
Yeah, definitely. So, where would you say that the infinite banking concept has, I guess, affected your life most recently?
Oh man, that's a good question. Let me think about this. So, I think the thing that's been keeping me up at night the last couple of years, right? Because now I'm protected. I have a couple policies on myself. My beautiful wife, who's joined me on this journey, she's also protected. And we've got policies on both our sons. We've got 23-year-old and 11-year-old. And the thing that's kept me up and we've been working on the most is what happens when I'm no longer here.
Mm,
That's the thing that keeps me awake most of all is what happens when I'm no longer here. And understanding that I'm the first in my family, like first generation, to think the way I'm thinking about money and to really pass on the simple laws of wealth and these principles of the infinite banking concept that Nelson brought us. It's how do I, when I'm no longer here, how does that carry on? Right? Like how do the teachings, the systems and processes, the day-to-day stuff, how does that carry on past me? So I have more I can add, but I see a question there. So I'm going to pause.
I was thinking about, because I definitely think about this because I'm the person, not that I don't run everything by my wife, but I'm in charge of the finances. I'm the guy. My wife's a stay-at-home mom, and so I always think to myself, is like, how do I include her into these conversations? But then also, how do I start to implement, with my 4 and a 6-year-old? We live in a good area, a nice area, lots of people that make very good money. So there's the pressures of other people buying their kids things or taking them to fancy.
Keeping up with the Jones.
Yeah. So it's like, at what point do you draw the line? And then the other thing is like, I feel that having those tough moments of financial insecurity is kind of what makes us who we are. Like there was that thing that happened
Hmm.
where we're like, I never want to do this again.
Yes.
And it's like, how do I recreate that for my kids?
So the question, what happens when I'm no longer here?
Yeah.
And then it also goes hand in hand with how do I leave the next generation better?
Mm.
Right? How do I give them a head start? Because I asked my 11-year-old this the other day, and he's always kind of profound in his answers to me. Like I always expect like a simple answer, but I said, "Hey, Connor, do you think that every parent wants their kids to have a better life than they had?" And he was like, maybe some, but I don't think everybody. And I was like, okay, that's fair. But the majority, like if you're listening to this, you want to leave your kids better off. You want them to have a better starting position. You don't want them to,
Yeah.
we want them to struggle because that's where the greatness comes from. That's where the opportunity is. Like that fear is just an indication that I got to lean in because on the other side of it, it's what I actually want.
Yeah.
So if it's around money, that fear around money, it's like when you look into this and you read Nelson's simple 91-page book, it's all of a sudden like, oh, well, here's the rules to this game. And here's the 5 human conditions that stop most people, 95% of people. If I can just understand and take action towards a better outcome, I can do this. Like anybody can do this if they choose to. Not most will, but anyone could.
Hey guys, if you'd like to learn more about the infinite banking concept and how to flow your capital through your own financing system, my team and I are here to help. With over 35 years of experience, we can guide you in building a properly structured whole life policy tailored to you and your family. See the scheduling link below. Now, back to the show. Here's an example that I just came across, and I feel like I did not prepare my wife for this, but I'll kind of expose a little bit of
That's good. That's what people want to hear. So that's good.
yeah. She's becoming a Pilates instructor,
Oh, congrats. That's cool.
and she was able to get a doctor's note to be able to get a Pilates reformer machine, it's a $5,000 machine. So I had it in my HSA. I'm a big believer in putting money in my HSA because it's tax free, blah, blah, blah. It's not financial advice, but I put it in every year. I have a lot of money in there and I buy nice things for myself health-wise
Yeah.
because of it. I bought a fancy mattress that was prescribed by a doctor. And then now we bought a workout machine, which is good for your back, apparently, from the chiropractor. So it's a $5,000 machine. So I took it out and I felt like I didn't realize I was stealing the peas because I took the 5,000 out of the HSA, but I take money out of my policy to fund the HSA. So I still fund the policy. Like I'm paying creating my bank, my note, whatever I'm doing to get back that $8,000 that I took out to put into the policy. But now I still have this capital that's in my HSA that also needs to be repaid back, but you can't put it back into the HSA. You just have to fund it to the policy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just another store of capital. And I was afraid because I didn't think of it when we bought it. Because normally you would say, okay, well, if we're going to do this, we're going to create a loan and this is what's going to happen. So then I thought to myself, how am I going to approach my wife with this loan that I'm going to tell her that we got to try to figure out how to pay it back?
Well,
So
what's your approach? I want to hear what your approach is before I tell you what I think.
And this is where I believe with kids and everyone else, like creating that difficult moment, it's like, okay, well, you want to start this Pilates reformer business and you don't want to feel like it was given to you. So how do we create it as a business and we create this loan repay back? So that's really what it came down to. It's like we're running a business, not a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we create a loan payback for your business to be able to pay back the $5,000 that we gave it, gave the business? And it went over very well. She sat there and she's like, okay, yeah, we could do that. And then we're still in the middle of figuring that part out, but
Yeah.
we're creating like maybe when she uses the reformer, it's like renting the machine from the business and then it pays some rent towards back the loan,
I love it. Put a promissory note in place, make it real.
Yep.
And then you have other opportunities. Again, not giving tax advice, but I believe you can write off that interest for paying that loan back to yourself, right? And the one thing that, to help you with that conversation, I concentrate on this a lot. Like I think when I share and, how the compliment you paid me earlier, what you see is what you get. Like I'm literally on camera, in person, exactly the same because I want my life to be an example of the things I struggle with and the things that I think about and all of the personal development I've done, the $100,000 plus I've invested in myself. What I realized is no one cares, when it comes to like your kids. Like I say, oh, you should do this.
Yeah.
Tony Robbins said we should do this, or Joe Dispenza said we should do this, or so and so Ben Hardy said this. And they're hearing us, but until we get them involved in it, then nothing's really going to sink in, right? Like, so involving your wife in that conversation, like having the courage to tell her, like, look, babe, we got to pay this back. And then having that. And so we built something where we call it a generational positioning system, where it's a platform that's called our family GPS. And the first point was to help families build their family letter or their constitution. Because this is like I told you, I've been worrying about. So it gives people an opportunity to go in there and be guided. Like, what do we stand for? Where is our family in 100 years from now? What do we stand against? And you start defining those things and you start doing what you just talked about. You have the financial education piece for the kids. So then they can talk about banking. Like we let our Connor take a loan out for Legos because we have a share, spend, and save methodology when he gets paid. Like he has to save this much. He can spend some of it and he can share some. But now we store that in his policy. But this guidance system that we created, I know you asked the question earlier, but the guidance system is now a way where families can be more involved because that's when things started changing for us. Like I was going to these dad coaching groups. I saw this dad do this amazing story about values and how he's created a river of values that flows through generations over the last 20 years. And so we started doing family retreats a couple of years ago. And we started talking about values, about vision, about banking. And so then we built a platform where it guides all those things together because, again, this is what I worry about. Like when you ask about what's the next thing I think about with infinite banking, it's how do I pass all this knowledge on? All the stuff I'm passionate about, all the stories I tell, how does someone else know the struggles so they can start having that blessing versus the lesson right away, right?
Yeah, it's really good. So obviously it's going to be different for you said 11-year-old
Yes.
and a 23-year-old.
Yes.
You can share what you want, but how does that work for the 23-year-old? Like, because you started this journey about how long ago?
5 years ago.
So this was fairly new to the 23-year-old. It's easier to introduce it to a young kid that doesn't know much about finances. You're starting a new thing for a 23-year-old. Like, how do you include them on those decision-making
Yeah, he
process?
was the last. No, it's a great question. He was the last of all of us to get the policy because we were waiting for him to do some things and be ready. There was a readiness factor to it. And so, like, he's just sworn in. He's gonna be a Marine, so we're super proud of him. He's waiting to go to basic. And so I built a policy, so once he knows what his job is, his MOS is, now I build it so it's mostly base and it's got PUAs attached. And for anyone listening, that just means that you have a whole life policy and it's got the ability to put cash value into it.
Yep.
And so we built it so when he has his job, that we can start taking a significant portion of whatever he's earning, since everything's gonna be paid for, the food, the barracks, all the stuff, and put it into his policy. So then when he's out in 8 or 10 years, or maybe he'll become a lifer, I don't know. Like, it's too early in the journey, but now he's able to have that opportunity fund ready for when he's done with the service, to start a business, to start a family, to do the things he'll need to do. And so that's how it's been introduced with him. It's in these family retreat conversations. He sees what we're doing with our policy. We take my 11-year-olds and we go skiing every year in Salt Lake City, then we pay it back. So we're using that as our vacation fund. So he gets to see what we're doing, and he started last. Like, we just started his policy in December. So
Yeah, and the other thing about the military, I have a lot of friends that are in the military, and the goal, obviously, you think to yourself, it becomes like sunk costs, I think, what happens with the military career.
Mhm.
And like they get to around like 12 to 15 and they're itching to get out, but they're like, well, I'm already there, so I might as well go to 20, you know? But I think what I like with what you were saying is like, we're creating this empowerment to creating this cash flow banking system in our life to where if it was at 8 to 10 years, if you've been structuring your finances correctly, you have the power to see that there's other opportunities and you have the choice. You know, it creates the control of your own life to be able to do those things. And I believe anybody can retire in 10 years if they stay focused and put in money towards cash flowing assets and stuff like that. And that's this whole like retire early idea is based on people focusing when they're 20 years old to retire when they're 30, you know? So, I mean, it's really the 10-year time frame. When you're 50 years old and you realize you only have 10 years, people turn it on and then they retire in 10 years. So like,
Mm.
this is what we're talking about is like, how do we create control of our banking system to be able to really live our best life with freedom? And what I love what you said at the very beginning, you were talking about with family and stuff. And I think I just started this like networking group and it was so like conforming that I couldn't handle it. Like it made me so busy to do this networking thing that I was like, this is not why I got out of my corporate job to not have this like super conforming type job. And I want to be able to go to my daughter's, plays and the, dance recitals. And like, I remember at my old job where I was not able to do that, but I was kind of stuck to the job because I didn't have any other options.
Yeah.
And that's really what IBC has done for me for sure.
That's a great example, and thank you for sharing that. And there's a quiet pain that producers, men, are feeling in our country. There's this expectation. You talked about keeping up with the Jones, like other people are buying their parents. They're just leveraging stuff. They're taking credit card loans. They're spending
Yeah.
cash. They're doing things that they don't really want to do or don't think they really need just because they want to fit in.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a pressure. Like, I've talked to, again, 4,000 people. There's a pressure that people are feeling. And unfortunately, the majority of my calls are with people that are older than I am, and I'm 51. And it's because I don't think, like, you can't have somebody understand that there's a solution to a problem, but they don't know they have a problem until it's too late. And so, like, our whole message is be proactive with life. Like, really understand, where do you want to be 10 years from today? And 10 years is usually too far for people to imagine, but start giving yourself that permission of what do things look like 10 years from now?
Yeah.
And then bring that back to 3 years. So if you say, hey, 10 years from now, I want to have $100,000 of passive income a year, or whatever your magic number is, right? But then bring that back and say, well, why can't I do that in 3 years? Like, what are the steps and the pathways? And that's what you're talking about, starting networking groups, or like you and I connecting, right? Through things that you saw, connecting with me. And now we're on a shared journey. Now we get to know each other. Now we get to decide, like, hey, is there more we can do together because we're thinking about the same things for our families? Does that make sense? It's like we start asking different questions and we'll have a better result when we're proactive, to kind of round it up.
It's like the biggest problem that we have is that to be in the 1%, you have to not follow 99% of the people. So as you're talking and I'm thinking about the area I live in, I mean, a normal house is $1 million in this area. And the majority, like we can see these things, like when you see a nice car, we see the nice houses, we think that these are the things that show wealth, but really what I believe is the control of your time and being able to do whenever you can break away from work. Yeah, there's times where I work very hard, but at the same time, I've started to learn that those things control people, and like their number one asset will be like their house, so it's unfortunate, when you see that, where you're like, how hard do you have to work to keep the house, and how do we figure out how to not so much unwind, like move out of the house, but it's like, how do we take back the financing
Mhm.
structure in our lives to be able to control our time to where it's no longer about what I have to do today, it's what I get to do.
Yeah. Everything is what we get to do because we're exactly wherever you are in life,
Yeah.
you're exactly where you expected yourself to be. You're no further or no further behind. Like you're exactly where you've set up your life to be, no matter what that is, good, bad, ugly, and different, right? And what you're talking about are the freedoms, like more money and less time with more magic. That's what people want. They want to have more money so they can do more things, and they want to spend less time getting the money, and they want to have more magic, more experiences in life, like the going to see your daughters play,
Yeah.
or whatever that might be. And so then the question you have to ask yourself better questions. Like, how could I do this versus like, no, we can't do that. I was a no person. I still am a lot. Like my family makes fun of me. Like, hey, we got to do this. I'm like, no. Like it's an instant no. It's like instinct. It's like so hardwired into my person that the first thing, like I actually have to pause, and I'm working at pausing between reactions, between like thoughts, so I can start seeing and being conscious of that no reaction. Like, is it really a no because we can't do it? Is it a no because we shouldn't do it now? What is the no coming from? And is it actually a no, or is it a better question, how could I or how can we?
Something you said, and I feel like you have thought about it pretty intensely, so I'm going to ask you, is you said that where we're at is exactly where we is it put ourselves, or what was the exact
Yeah, where we want to be is what I said.
where you want to be? So are you talking about just like you and I, or just anybody that
Everybody that's listening, you're exactly where you expect yourself to be. You
so
might
can you like go further into that? Like how, like, okay, so if you're in a job you're not really thrilled about being in, or you're driven to be financially free, a lot of times it's a job that it's really
Mhm.
tough on you, and you're trying to figure out, how do I get control of my time? Like, how is that the same?
Because you've taken a job that you decided to take for whatever path you went on.
Mhm.
And now you're feeling like you want more, but there's something that you can either find a way to get a promotion by investing in yourself and growing more. You can find a way to do something that's more aligned with what you want to do, which would mean quitting and going on an uncommon path. Like my wife has sat me down on the front porch multiple times in the last 7 years and said, "You need a break? Like, what are we doing? Like, what do you mean you're leaving a $180,000 a year job where you build a $30 million recruitment division from scratch for an equity backed company, and you could coast on this job for the next decade? Like, what do you mean you're leaving that to pursue coaching,
Yeah.
right? After going to my first Tony Robbins event. Well, hey, this is not our path. I asked my wife, I'm like, you said you want to do more things with orphans and more things with mission trips, and you want to do it when we're retired. I'm like, I don't know if I want to spend my retirement years doing that because we'll be a lot older, right? We'll be 67 years old. Why not start doing that stuff now? Why not start making more of an impact now? And that forced me to do, and I'm still like, don't anyone listening think I got all this figured out, but that forced me to ask different questions. And I read Nelson's book and I said, oh, how do I do that? And then I found out how to get a life insurance license, like become a broker. And I'm like, I don't want to ever do that. You can punch me in the face. Like, that's stupid. And then I got that. And then I started a company. And then I started having conversations with people and I figured out what I didn't know about it. And then I was practicing it so I could teach it, right, in my life. But then it was like, well, how can I serve more people? How can I have more of these conversations? How can I let everyone know about this? And this is why we do podcasts. This is why we do webinars, give away the best stuff for free. And so all of that journey, it's like you decide. Like you always have a decision point. Like I had a doctor tell me at 26 after back surgery, like significant spinal surgery, like, Jason, you're done. You're done running, you're done lifting. And Glenn had always been an athlete. So when I heard him say that, I was like, that's not true. Like immediately, the little voice in my head, my subconscious said, no, it's not true. And I went out and did a bunch of Ironman, right? A bunch of fulls, a bunch of halves, and raced for a decade. And that has consequences. But I decided to do the uncommon thing and start pushing myself. So if you're struggling in a job, how could you get better? What can you do to add more value? Because the reality is our worth as far as finances go, not as a person, we're all equally worthy as souls, but as a person, we're not all equal. It's like how big are the problems you're solving and who are you solving them for will increase how you could earn more money if you feel stuck in a job. Or how do you have more control over the money you do have? Or what are your habits, right? There's just a lot there. But does that kind of give you more clarity on how I'm thinking about this?
All right. So I think you have spoke to everyone listening. Everyone gets it, right?
Yep.
So now, in a short version,
Yep.
how does infinite banking concept help you on that journey?
Stuff will happen in life. You will need capital for stuff. If you want to love yourself more, pay yourself first and store it inside of a specially engineered whole life. Do you want me to go deeper in that?
I think, as you said it, this is what I'm getting out of it, is that see where the money is flowing out of your life, including my life. I look at situations of what if so in real estate, there's an addiction. It's an addiction to buying more.
Mhm.
What if I didn't have to buy any more? I have 600 units. Shouldn't I be happy with just 600 units? Or should I have 600 units and we'll say 60 partners. Do I need less partners? Do I need, how do I take back the finance? What if I figure out a way to roll my portfolio like through less debt and create more equity and at the same time create more cash flow? Like these are things that I think, as you're saying it, I'm thinking about in my situation. Like a lot of people would say, oh, I wish I could have 600 units, but there's more to the story. But at the same time, it's like, how do we create more control in that situation? And that's what drove me to the infinite banking concept, is like, how do I take back more control and while creating liquidity, safety, and security for my family?
Yeah.
And that's really how I really got into
That's a
the rat hole.
powerful way because people want to be like people who are interested in passive income want to be you.
Yeah.
Like I admire that. Like I am not the best investor yet.
Yeah.
That is a next part of my journey. Like I'm still, but there's the arrival syndrome. Like we never arrive as humans. Like we should always be contributing, growing, learning in something. Like one of our family mottos inside of our constitution is, we're always white belts,
Mm.
right? We're always white belts at something.
Mm-hmm.
Like we stepped on the martial art mat. We're blessed to have trained with some of the best trainers in the world with Victory Martial Arts and Chief Master Neri. And, we went on that journey. And now it's like, well, what else do we need to learn? Like, do we want to learn? I still need to learn Spanish. I'm married to an Ecuadorian and it's been 17 years and I don't know Spanish. So like one of my personal goals is to start working from Ecuador for a month of the year or to have enough passive income to work when I want to as I'm immersing myself in Spanish, right? So like what you said, you're at a point, like my guidance to you, if this was like a strategy call, would be to, okay, sit down with what you just said and say, where do I want to be in 3 years? And then really make it such a big goal that you don't have a linear pathway to get there.
Mm.
Like, okay, I want half the partners and twice the cash flow, or I want double the units and like whatever.
Yeah.
Do I want to go bigger, smaller? Do I want to right size? Like, what do you want versus what you think you want? And like really dig deeper down into why you want it. And once you have the why, then you become super passionate about it. And it's no longer a job. It's something that you can be excited about doing, like to hit that next level.
You just made me so excited. I'm like, as you're saying it, I'm like, I'm on board. The linear part is really what I've been really thinking is like it's almost impossible to think exponentially. And I think the linear part is how we underestimate ourselves.
Yeah.
It's, we're constantly compounding.
Yeah. And that's our fear. That's our fear of failure, fear of rejection. I have it every day.
Yeah.
When I presented this week to 100 plus people on our family GPS, I was thinking, well, who am I to lead these people? And I'm like, wait a minute. There's probably less than one, like when we're talking about infinite banking, you're talking about less than 5% or maybe less than 2% of people actually practicing this in the States, if not less than that.
Yeah.
When it comes to family constitutions, I believe it's even less than that.
Yep.
And the reason I think it's so powerful is because it's an intentionality to enact and stop being the leader that expects everyone to follow because you're doing it. Like you have to be more involved. You have to understand what the people you're leading, your family, understand and don't understand. You have to my wife and I fight all the time about the fact that, she's been around it. And so I have this expectation, which is a terrible thing to have. And then we get into it because I've expected an understanding to be there when certain things aren't understood yet, which means I suck at teaching when it comes to that piece, or she just hasn't got it yet. Do you know what I mean? Like there's just the journey of life. How can we be more present for it and have more fun doing it? Because we don't know when we're checking out.
Awesome. I feel like we could go for another hour, but
Well, I'll come back.
unfortunately we're running out of time.
How about this? I'll come back. You'll bring me
I
back.
will,
We'll continue
definitely.
the conversation. So
We'll have to get more into the Constitution and figuring out how to just live our best life and really trying to relay that message to our family and our, all the things we want to hand down as well.
yeah, I love that, man. I'm so grateful you brought me onto your Capitalizing Your Life podcast and reached out to me. It's been such a blessing. Like I'm just getting the opportunity to meet you and know you. And I would say like the mission of Founding Fathers, this is not a company. It's a mission of inspiring, educating, and transforming 10 million fathers
Mm,
and their families to avoid financial slavery, live their legacy, and make a positive impact. And how I see it working is leaders like yourself doing the things we're talking about to help that next leader. And that next leader spreads a message. It's very much like the apostles. Jesus speaks, you got 12 people going out and doing it, and you multiply it, multiply it, multiply it, and then you have that compound effect over time. So I don't know how it's going to happen, but that's the mission, my friend.
that's awesome. And so where can people find you?
You can find me either go to wealthwisebanking.com to check out Jeremy and myself, podcast co-host, or you can just go to my name, jasonsipple.com, and connect with me that way. Email me at jason@jasonsipple.com. Any number of those ways you can find me, all over social media too. But find me, connect with me, ask me questions. I'm here to serve. So,
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
hey, thank you for having me. Again, it was a blessing. Thank you for everyone listening. We know that your time is your most valuable asset. So thank you for blessing both Glenn and I with some of your time.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Capitalizing Your Life podcast. Please rate, like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share with someone who you think would enjoy listening.